Welcome to the Liberated Feminine Podcast. I'm Lucy Lampy, your host. And in today's episode, I have three very special guests, two of whom you have previously met as guests on other episodes, Kimberly Spencer and Toni Briana Guida Wendel. And also I have my good friend Natalie Kennedy here as well. And everyone has had babies this year in 2025. So we're gonna be sharing some real talk. And I don't think any of you have actually met each other. So this is going to be a little get to know you as well. And what we're going to, let's start off by just introducing a little about you and how old your baby is, and if you have other kids and where you're from, starting with Natalie.
Yeah, hello. My name's Natalie. It's a pleasure to be on. I've definitely had Lucy on mine, so it's cool to be on yours. My son is almost 8 months. He's my only son. We live part-time in Colombia and part-time in Southern California with our families. And I forget what else you asked, Lucy. Is there anything else? What do I do, I guess?
What do you do? Yes.
Right now, I'm a mom, and I work when there's a little bit of time. Thanks to my husband. So, I'm kind of in transition, but I was known for the last 5 years as a relationship anxiety coach. So I work a lot with women who tend to have one foot in, one foot out in their relationships and marriages. And, now that I've had a baby, a lot's shifted. I still have a lot of the same perspectives, but they've obviously been modified. So I'm at the moment finding my own unique voice amidst that space with the lens of motherhood. So I guess that would be where I'm at right now. I think Lucy's changing a diaper as I finish up.
I am.
So I guess I can popcorn.
This is the real deal.
I'm going to popcorn it over to Kimberly.
Hi, I am Kimberly Spencer.
I also had to come in and out. I apologize.
All good. We're all moms. I think I've always said, like, moms always get moms. Like, we understand when there's an explosive diaper. We understand, like, if something is delayed. I've been a high performance coach for visionary leaders for the past 9 years with my company, Crown Yourself. And I have a podcast guesting consulting company as well, where we do the visibility strategy and done with you building the systems to get people booked on podcasts as part of their visibility strategy. And I am a mom of 3. I have an 8-year-old, a 4-year-old, and a very bouncy 6-month-old girl who's so excited. Like, we got the girl. I know, she's so excited. This is her first podcast. She's like, I am here. Hi, baby girl.
So is Amaya. She's like, hello.
I honestly think they see each other's souls and they're like, I know you. You were there with me. And now we're here Earthside. Welcome, Earthside friend.
Yes, and Kim and I go way back too. We've talked about this in previous episode. We've known each other the longest, since like 2012. So there have been many evolutions in that time. Toni.
Hello, I'm Toni. I'm an artist. My medium is rope. I'm a shibari artist. I have a shibari studio in San Diego, and I am a new mother. That is my new favorite first title. My son is just turned 4 months today. And, we did a home birth. I'm not sure how deep you want me to go into my journey.
We're going to get into it.
Yeah, exactly. But, it's been a really, blessed, very hippie journey so far. So. Thank you for having me. It's good to be back on the Liberated Feminine Podcast.
Thank you. And thank you all for being here. When this idea came up, and I thought, I don't even know exactly what this is, but it feels important. It feels important that we gather as moms with babies, because there's this whole thing of, honestly, a lot of women are straight up terrified of having a baby, and not just what it'll do to their bodies and the birth itself and the pain and postpartum, but literally motherhood itself. I hear this a lot. And they're like, I just will lose my whole life and I'm going to lose myself. And the thing is, you do lose your identity because you're getting a bigger one. So actually, I would love to start with that and just kind of ping pong and let it be a conversation of how has your sense of identity expanded? I don't want to say even changed, but it's like, how has it expanded? And who have you expanded into because of motherhood? Even with this specific child, if this is your third, Kim,
I feel called to say something.
Yes.
And I was actually having a conversation with this conversation with a friend of mine a little over a week ago. And we were talking also about how before we were parents, we also had this terror of losing ourselves. And I get it. And one thing that she said to me, and as soon as she said it, it just landed. And I don't know if you guys are going to resonate the same way, but I'm just going to name it because it resonated with me. It's kind of like being an eagle and trying to explain what it's like to fly to a rabbit. It's not that being an eagle is superior to being a rabbit. It's just, how do you explain what flying is to someone who's only been on the ground? So when you're looking at mothers through a child-free lens, you're seeing a lot of the grind and the stuff that they are giving up. And you're looking at those sacrifices through the lens of a child-free lens. And you can't conceptualize the benefit of what you're receiving. And that receiving is, I really believe, an expansion of consciousness because it requires that of you. And so you can just see so much more as a mother because your consciousness expands to be able to hold multiple bodies inside of yourself, literally, including your own, and your capacity expands. And so how do you explain that, okay, you gave some things up, but because your capacity has pentupled, you actually gained more than you lost? That's the easiest way that I can kind of describe what I felt happened to me.
Yeah, I would love to piggyback off of that by saying not only is it like multiple beings, but one thing that totally not changed, but again, expanded was because I feel like I've always kind of had this ability to like have multiple truths, right? Or even contradictory truths within me. But when I became a mother, that was like so amplified, where it was like two things can be very true for me. Like, I love you and I'll always have love and respect for you, and I can't be around you anymore, right? That was a big one for me with a lot of people that I do truly love and respect and think the best of, but at the same time, like, ways that they move through life is just not conducive for my nervous system and to have my child around, right? And so that was really hard to explain to some people. Like, definitely first trimester, it was like anything that contributed to my stress was just like, cut it. I was just really cutting a lot of things out of my life really rapidly because I realized right away, like, oh, this is actually messing up my nervous system to be talking to these people, to be having these conversations, just to be in these environments. I realized was taxing on my mental and physical space. And so, there were a lot of conversations I had to have with people where I was like, and I was very open. Like, I was very like, hey, if you want to come to me and talk with me and negotiate like how we can stay connected, I'm super open to it. However, I have some very different boundaries than I had, and I'm going to be moving through life very differently than I was. And so if you want to have access to me and my family, I have to be really clear that you're going to be able to respect those things about me. And, a lot of people, I didn't even have to have that conversation with, but the people who I did have to have that conversation with, never showed up for this conversation. So, and, you know, past me would have been like, oh, that's really hurtful. And mom me was like, oh, that's so much easier than me having to have this conversation.
They weed themselves out, right?
It's true. It was, I really realized that the people who were not going to work out in this new chapter as close people really did see themselves out very quickly.
Yeah, motherhood shaped me. Like motherhood and every pregnancy, every child has been exactly what I needed it to be. It's Reagan, my daughter, is very much the full circle moment because I felt her before I felt my first. And I had a chemical miscarriage before I had my first. And I felt her soul and it was her. And she was very much like, Declan needs to go first. And of course, my little Leo is like, I'm not only going to go first, I'm going to get born on a Netflix special. And like, here I am, world. And it was, I know, we have a cough. We both have a little cough.
You are getting better.
Yeah. Hi, baby girl.
You're recovering.
But I feel like each child has really shaped me and changed me. Declan, he's my fire. He is my Sparky. My first coach called him Little Sparky, and I was like, why? She's like, oh, he is fire. And he is a Leo. He's born in the year of the fire rooster. He's very showy. He is exactly what I needed. And he was actually the catalyst for my coaching company to actually like quote unquote turn pro, because prior to that, I was so mired in doubt. He also is my mirror in astrology. He is like in my opposite 7th house in my unconscious. So he is 100% right there as my mirror. And when he came into this world, he came in with several things that really initially scared me and brought up the deepest fears that I'd ever had. And that was like the fear of being fundamentally flawed. That was presented to me right in my face. And I had to do the deepest shadow work while also growing a business, while also like being a wife and being with my amazing husband. And there was so much shadow work that I did through that. And he also awakened so many of my spiritual gifts that I have now. My intuition just skyrocketed. My, like different perceptions that I have. I experienced sleep paralysis after he was born. Like there was an entire spiritual awakening that I didn't know what I was going through. I didn't realize what my body was going through at the time. I didn't have the language for it. I just knew that this was something like my calling for motherhood was so deep. And he has been my initiation and constantly is showing me the pieces of me that I get to heal and integrate and then parent. And it's a beautiful and it's a hard journey. And then I had my second son, Colton, in Australia. We were those Americans who got stuck abroad. I free birthed him in a bathtub because my husband, like my midwife, was still driving during a snap lockdown in Australia. So my husband caught him. My doula that was her first birth. She'd never done a birth before. And it was just me and my massage therapist. Like she was my massage therapist throughout my pregnancy. And so that birth taught me trust. Each of my children, except for my daughter, has given me a very clear, I know, I hear you. Has given me a very clear word intuitively as to who they are. And for my second son, it was decisive. And he came out in like 4 hours, went from like nothing to like, let's go, I'm coming. And that he has been my light. His name literally means from the dark town into the Christ light, because he was my light through the darkest depth of grief, losing my father while I was pregnant with him. He has some powerful spiritual gifts that we are just now starting to see. And he is so imaginative, and he opened up for me a capacity of just being able to feel and remember love. And in a way, he looks, it's crazy because he looks like my dad. I knew he, like when I found out he was a boy, because I thought, oh no, for sure, this is my girl. I literally found out he was a boy, a month after my dad passed. I know, right?
Yes.
And that soul journey of connection was, it was nothing like I've ever experienced. And he is my disruptor. His first sentence was, I climb. And it's just like, he is I accept him as who he is. He is a climber. He goes off into his la la lands. He's got this beautiful imagination. And for the past 2 years, as Saturn has been doing what Saturn does for the past 2 years, I have felt this massive recalibration and identity crisis after that, because there was a lot of trauma that came with Colton's birth, that not only so between moving and losing 3 family members and 2 family friends within that same year, and then moving again, and then just being able to finally sit at peace. And it really hit me, this identity shift of now we have our home, our dream home. Now we are safe. And I didn't know how to calibrate to that level of groundedness and rootedness that I quite frankly haven't had for a decade. And my daughter kind of brought that home. I'm having her home birth and having her come in. And of course we moved onto my Saturn line. So
how fun. We're in my Jupiter line, so I'm like,
whoa. Oh yeah, that's New York for me. And that's Declan constantly has asked me Mommy, so we're going to New York in a few months, and he's I'm New York is expansive for me. And I went to New York when I was pregnant with her to see the release of my book, and I got to experience that Jupiter energy with her in my body, and that's how expansive. And then I come back and I'm my home, I love some discipline when I am here. And that
makes sense.
And it is just this total difference. But she is this light of, and she is almost this full circle shift. And I feel I joke with my husband Spike, I'm I feel the Holy Trinity of children is complete. We are very complete with my childbirthing. And the identity shift, though, of having a girl has also been different. I know.
Yeah, it is. So it is different, though. It is. It feels. She woke up and she's she's doing this right now. She's.
Meanwhile, my Reagan's just kicking in the chair in the baby Bjorn bouncer, and she's having the time of her. She's this is what I'm here for.
I can't wait for that stage too. I love that stage where we can just play, and
she's so smiling and she's kicking like crazy.
I love that dang bouncer. Although my son's almost too big for it, which is crazy.
Oh,
his head is all the way to the end. He's the size of a toddler at not even 8 months. He's wearing.
How is she?
He's wearing. No, he's wearing 24 months at 7.5 months.
Oh my God. He's so cute.
Son.
Oh, she's pooping on me.
Oh.
My son came out almost.
Let's give that diaper
20,
some space.
Oh, sorry.
20 how many?
I was saying 22 inches when he was born. And so he's already at 4 months. We just measured him. He's 26 inches, which is over 2 feet at 4 months. I'm just
gosh,
this is a long guy.
I'm working on the metric system
girl.
now. What's 51 centimeters? Because that's how big she is now. Y'all, I'm still adjusting to Latin American metrics.
Okay,
I had to adjust to Australian metric system, so I'm trying to do the conversion in my head.
Yeah, I might just have to ask Chad later. But no, right. I mean, that's the thing is that every time we get used to one phase, we know what they like this thing. We like the bouncer. They like the swing. They like this food. And then it changes. Mm-hmm. And I mean, that's life. But actually, I feel that is one of the things that most expanded my capacity for change in life and to be adaptable. And to just have more capacity, period.
I feel like priorities become so dang obvious that becoming efficient is the name of the game.
Yeah.
But it's not
that was a big fear of mine before I had a child. Was I was like, well, I'm really disorganized. I'm kind of messy, and I just had all of these qualities that I thought would not be conducive to motherhood. And as soon as I got pregnant, I was like, I love to clean. I love when things are in their place. And it was just like this total instinctual thing popped in. And it feels really good to just kind of like, oh, all of the skills you need just are downloaded in our like mother code. There's so much. Like, one thing that I thought was so funny is when he was first born, I was like, I just want to kiss his face so much. And I thought it was just because he's like so adorable. And that is a big part of it. But then I was reading this research that as mothers, when we kiss their face, we're actually like picking up the germs, the like data from the germs on their face. Yes. And then we're producing like antibodies in our breast milk based on that data from the face kisses.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then when they nurse, their bacteria in their mouth communicates with our bodies what they need. And it's literally custom made for their immune system. That's wild.
Their backwash. Our nipple picks up their backwash.
It's giving us information.
And yet now you can't get me to share a water bottle with my kids because I'm like, no, you backwash too much into my water bottle. Like, no, we are not sharing.
There comes a point where that ends and we're like, keep your germs to yourself. We get a little bit mad when the kids come home from school and everybody gets sick. We're like, where did you get this virus from?
That is one thing that I think like kids end up being like this little.
He's learned to kiss, but it is like a full open mouth kiss. He'll be like,
those are the best.
Oh,
they are the absolute best.
Like, thank you. This is precious.
Is that what my son is doing right now? Trying to eat my face? Are those kisses?
Yes, I think so.
Oh my God.
I mean, I'm convinced because I'll go, give me a kiss. And he goes like this.
I thought he just thought my nose was another nipple.
No, they're like 100% trying to figure out like, how is she doing that kiss thing on me? It must be like this.
Because he does it on, I have a lot of bird stuffed animals from when I was a kid because I like birds. And he does it with all the beaks on the stuffed animal birds too. He'll just be like,
oh, that's so cute.
It's like my beak. He has to eat my beak and the bird's beaks. And then my nipples are also just beaks,
Oh, gee. We are having a nipple extravaganza, let me tell you. Like, he is teething kind of already, or at least like being like,
that's about that time.
Going on in my mouth that I don't like. And so when that started happening, he like bit on my nipple, and then like I was like, ow, and I think I scared him because he like clamped down harder and tugged, and I was like, no, like, and it was the first time I talked to it. Like, I didn't yell or seem like I was trying to like
but
keep
it's reaction.
You're like toned down, but I was being very firm. I was like, let go. And so
you let go of that nipple.
And he was kind of like bewildered for a second. And then he like thought about it and was like, you could see these little wheels turning of like, oh my God, I think I just hurt my mom. And then she like talked to me firmly, and that's never happened before. And I didn't know what I was doing. Yeah. And then so he started crying really hard. And I held him and I was like, I love you. I'm not mad. Just please don't do that. And so he stopped, like he hadn't done it for a long time. Tell me why. I'm breastfeeding and on my phone, and he bit, and it wasn't as hard, but he bit. And then I looked down at him and he goes, ow. I was like, I think
this kid is 4 months old. Oh my God. That's
I was like, my 4-month baby just bullied me.
He's like, get off and pay attention to me.
Literally, no. And I think that's the thing, being like, I had this like, I'll be a stay-at-home mom and work remote. Like, that's not a thing. I don't know what I was thinking.
Well, that's the whole thing too.
He will like push the phone away for sure.
Angelo is really anti-technology. I've never seen a kid like that. It's funny.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, guy knows what he wants and what he doesn't want. But that's another thing too. It's like work does shift when we have babies. Oh, I think she's trying to push one out. It's like, and there are some things, like for me, I have some things like, this is obviously casual, and she can be here. But even like the 5-day challenge I just did, she was with me half the time. Brendan had her the other half, and she was dancing with me in the carrier and stuff like that. And so it's like things change in different seasons, but also I'm curious. I personally know what each of you, how you're navigating work, life, relationship more so, but what you are willing to share with our listeners here about how that has shifted with this baby. How has the whole, I don't like to call it balance, because I don't think it's about balance. It's about counterbalancing and harmony.
I'm not balanced.
It's a wild, chaotic dance. Yeah, that's what it is.
Yeah. And I will just share personally, like every single time that I'm thinking about work, doing work or whatever, and he's awake and he will notice, I immediately am like, you're right, Angelo, like, what am I doing? Right? I'm like, this time is so precious. So I feel like just every single time I'm just kind of like, whatever, I'm going to figure it out, because I want to be fully present for this. Because one of the biggest pieces of advice is like, people are like, just soak it all in, enjoy every moment, because it goes so quickly, and it does. So I'm just trying to be like in a state of meditation with him all the time when I'm with him, and just trying to be as fully present as possible. And now he's a little bit like demanding with the presence, but every single time he is, I'm like, you're right, you're totally right, I should be chilling with you. That is the priority. And like fully, part of motherhood and preparing for this new chapter was really starting to slow so down, that I'm only doing one thing at a time now, and I'm only thinking about the thing I'm doing while I'm doing it. And it's just been so good for my mental health. And to be honest, I actually get more shit done because I don't make as many mistakes. And the quality of everything I'm doing has just like drastically increased because I'm very mindful.
Yeah. Yeah, it really does force you to get your priorities in order too, and to focus. Because if gosh, I could do a whole episode just on that topic. Yeah, because we have to count, like, it's like even having the big kid spend time with the baby, and be like, here, you bond with her now while I take a shower, because dad's working too, or I'm just want to take a break. But yeah, the whole dynamic. Yeah, what about y'all? What do you have to say?
I definitely what's the word? I thought I would have more time and capacity for work than I actually did. And it's not that it was a problem. It was just kind of confronting. And I had to figure out which aspects of my work were actually serving me. And in the, not just me, but also kind of serving Source. How does God want me to be used in this season? Because I don't think I'm meant to stop working entirely. I did that for a little while, and I just felt like creatively sapped. And also, I noticed my work keeps me accountable to be the kind of wife and woman I want to be. So that's another aspect. Like when I feel like I'm not working in some capacity, I'm not being my own ideal client, and then I get lazy, and then I don't benefit myself, my husband, or my baby. But I didn't have the same capacity as before. So I made some changes. I only took a couple one-on-ones. I had a group program, but I had someone doing most of the back end work. I taught the people in my program how to upload their own videos so I wouldn't have to do it, edit their own stuff. And then one thing I started doing was offering voice note packages. So I was like, hey, I started taking on clients that were voice note only, especially when I was in Colombia and I didn't have any family around. Now I'm back, so I have a little more support. But there were a couple months where my husband was busy remodeling our home in Colombia, and he was working full time to take care of us, and he just couldn't help with the baby. So I was with the baby all day long, and during my little 3 walks a day for his naps, I would make Instagram stories. And then at some point I realized I really miss coaching, but I don't have an hour at a certain time of day to just sit down. So I offered voice note packages and some people bought, and it wasn't a lot, but it was enough to get that, adult conversation that I was so craving on board. And it was really fulfilling for me. And one thing I also shifted in my business is kind of letting all my clients know that my family comes first right now. So please expect me to be 15 minutes late. Please, no, I'm going to have my husband bring in the baby to breastfeed throughout our session sometimes. And literally no one cared. And that was about that, right? Funny thing about that, people were like, yeah, sure, no problem. So all these expectations that people were going to expect me to, prioritize them were not true. People knew that I was prioritizing my family. They weren't offended by it. If anything, I've had a few clients say, oh, I can do that? I said, yeah. Yeah. So we don't have to be following this rigid model where I come at exactly 10 o'clock. I can meet you at 10:15. I can text you when I need a little more time. I've been very happy to discover that I can still prioritize my family and still have an outlet.
Yeah, because that does help us feel. I know for me, you and I have exchanged a lot of voice notes about this, Natalie. It's feeling in flow with why we're here. And for me, I remember the big motivation to become an entrepreneur in the first place was getting pregnant with Vivi, who is now almost 11. She's turning 11. So before I got pregnant with her, I was like, I don't want to be taking equipment to people's houses and doing sessions and all this stuff. And I just want to be home and work online. And I was like, how does this internet thing work with coaching and courses? How do we do that? Because that was the motivation. I
also find that, at least what I've heard from other people and moms, is we don't have to entirely separate them because kids just want to be involved in whatever we're doing. So sometimes if I am on my phone and in the presence of my son, I'll literally tell him hey, mommy's doing her soul work right now. As soon as I'm done with that, I'm going to be back with you.
So it's not mindless scrolling.
No, I'm not mindlessly scrolling. I'm like, hey, baby, grandpa just texted me. I'm going to text him back and I'll be right back with you. It's not all or nothing.
Yeah. That has been so helpful for me when I'm cooking, and I feel like it's really good for him too. Is, put him in his little chair facing me in the kitchen, and I'll be like, so mommy's putting butter in the saucepan, and now we're
narrating every little aspect. I do that too.
Yes. Yeah, and I'm like, I feel like you're getting.
Sometimes I'm like, oh wait, he doesn't know what this is, so I have to explain that. But then I mention something else that he wouldn't know, and I have to explain that. And all of a sudden, I've taught a whole podcast about spatulas.
What if
mommy's
that was
using
our
the spatula to flip the egg? A spatula is for flipping, and flipping is when you take one side of something and you turn it on its other side, and that's important because, and just on and on and on it goes. I guess I'm preparing myself for the why.
That's valid. That'll be here before you know it.
Yep.
I think we're almost there. He's going to start.
Oh
He
my
started
God.
babbling already.
So fun. Oh,
I think
Kim.
for me, it wasn't until her knowing that she is very much my last, that there was this like closure of like, I just want to, like, I have never questioned being a business owner and a mom more than with her. And I think that that's like my first child was my ignition. And one of the things that I struggled with that I didn't know that I struggled with until her and until one of my friends called it out in me, quite frankly, was for 8 years, I have compared myself to business owners who did not have kids and the level of success that my business was at compared to where theirs is at.
It's like playing on hard mode.
Oh my God,
Yeah.
right?
Level hardest.
Level hardest. And especially because I look at where, when I started, Declan was such a catalyst for me. I wouldn't have the business that I have anyways. And like, I've already had like some really amazing successes. And just at the same time, looking at now seeing so many of female business owners who started when I started, but now they're having kids. It's a different journey. Like, I love your metaphor, Natalie, of what you said of, an eagle trying to teach a rabbit. Like, there's just no words for when you are in that space doing both. And it is personal development, like on steroids, both growing a business and raising children. You are constantly looking at your shadow. And with her, my greatest shift has been like when I was pregnant, we downsized our agency. We initially had like a done for you end-to-end agency that was a cash flow hell, quite frankly. And I in my third trimester, my fourth trimester, no, Q4 of last year, I downsized my team. I let go of 85% of my team. And I said, we're just shifting into a consultative model, into more of a coaching consultative model. And I saw such an uptick in the success by just realigning and refocusing with what I'm really good at. And also with allowing and trusting my body, because my body with my pregnancy with her was so different. Like both my boys, I wanted Mexican food all the time. With her, couldn't even, like, I was like, no, don't even give me a tortilla. But like with her, she wanted Asian food, and she like literally just was sucking the blood from me. Like I was borderline anemic with her, and was so exhausted. And I was so grateful for that pivot and that shift. And in all the questioning and the self-reflection and the diving into my shadows of really what am I here for? I have questioned, like, should I have both businesses? What needs to be my focus and my priority? And every time sources just come back of like, no, that's not the answer. It's not the answer to quit. And I was like, okay, all right. That's not the answer. But what the answer I found was in elevating my role, in really looking into being the visionary rather than the operator, in essence, and removing myself from the operations as much as possible, removing myself even, quite frankly, from my own inbox. Like that's been a journey of like extracting myself from being the one who was always really skilled and the perfectionist of doing all the things. And as a Virgo, like I can do a lot of things, like, and I do them with spreadsheets and I do them really well. And that's just not the role that I'm meant to play in at this point. And the more I lean into being that visionary and that oracle for my company and also for my family, that's where and the author and that space and only staying in my zones of genius, that's where my soul plays happiest. And then also making, like really intentionally making space for mom, like making space to just like really, this is 100% mom time, clarifying those boundaries around when it is mom time. And then also asking for the support that I need from my husband, and my mom lives with us as well, which is a whole other fun thing with multi-generational living. Like, it's great having a nanny, and it's also like, all right, there are some things from my childhood that I am seeing now repeated in my kids. And I'm like, oh, that is not a behavior I wanted, but it is there. And being able to have that surrender, and also trusting in others, that there is just such a surrender when it comes to motherhood, in surrendering control and also recognizing that your hearts live outside your body.
Yeah. Yeah, that's also true. And then there's a whole bit of, I mean, we get the triple whammy too, because it's the entrepreneurship or the business, because all of us here have our own work that we have created for ourselves, aligned with our soul missions. And then there's, of course, motherhood. And then there's the relationship aspect, whether it's like someone you're in a relationship with or someone you're co-parenting with. And so it's like our souls really, really wanted the maximum experience, didn't they? But on that note, I don't know. Let's see if we have time to get into this, because we could go super deep into this, but let's see what feels okay for you to share. And maybe how have some aspects of relating shifted, dynamics, and what have been some gifts of that?
I would love to share, if I may.
Yes, please.
So I guess I'll give a little bit of background that on both sides of my family, there's some pretty heavy generational trauma. Like, my grandparents on my dad's side were Holocaust survivors, and then my mom's side was Sicilian, and they left during Mussolini. So there's just a lot of, like, on my mom's side, there's like some religious trauma, and then on my dad's side, there's kind of like a little bit of a survival, like, neuroticism thing that just kind of is embedded in all of our DNA. And when I had Angelo, I was very much like, I am breaking these curses. I'm not putting any of this mumbo jumbo in his head, right? I want him to have a really good sense of self-esteem and love, and, not only just surviving in life, but really like thriving and enjoying his life. And realizing, I'm Buddhist, so I'm very much like, suffering is part of life, right? But I'm also very much like, the quicker we can come to terms with that, and the quicker we can transmute suffering. And that is a big part of my work, right? A lot of people from the outside look at it as just this kind of erotic art, but really a lot of what we do is transmute suffering and transmute challenge physically and mentally, and alchemize it into something great, and something that is fulfilling and propels us forward. And I had to have some very transparent conversations with my parents, my dad and his wife and my mom, while they were here, because they were here very soon after he was born. And I had to be really mindful. And I also was seeing how I contribute to the conflict in those relationships sometimes, because there were so many times in those conversations where I was like, oh, this would totally trigger me if I let it. This is the moment where things can fly off the handle if I allow myself to internalize what they're saying or what they're doing. And I think one thing that was really helpful in those conversations was saying I'm saying this out of love, and I'm not judging you. Mm-hmm. You're being neurotic, and for you that might feel good. And I'm not judging you, because I completely understand why you operate the way you do. And I don't judge you for it. But if you want to continue operating that way, you're going to have to do it on your own time. Because I don't want it in my house. I don't want it around my kid. And so if you're, flitting about, trying to control every aspect of everything that's happening, and you're nitpicking and you're not focused. And, one thing is they were trying to help me around the house. And I was like, y'all aren't even like spending time with your grandkid right now, you know? And I think they saw that finally when I was like saying it and not saying like what you're doing is wrong or bad. However, the alternative to what you're doing is quality time with your grandson. And I highly encourage that. And also, like, that's what I asked you to be here for. So if that's not like what's on the agenda for y'all, maybe it's best we get together another time, you know? And I had to have some hard conversations being like, if this isn't something that you can respect in my house or around my kid, I'm not going to feel like I can trust you to take him on your own. I have a great relationship with all of them. So I was really clear, like, I'm in no way ever going to take time away from, you know, you guys being together, and you will always have a relationship with him. However, how much access and how much free, unsupervised time you get with him, is something I have to like really consider if I'm seeing these behaviors that are affecting me and therefore both of us, you know, because we're still very intermingled as far as our nervous system goes.
Yeah, and you have to protect that and nourish that, and it's hard to break those patterns. I wish I'd have known that when I first became a mom. Yeah, I was just like, I guess if you want to, I don't know what I'm doing, so you guys know better. So let me just.
Well, and I think that's the benefit of being 35. You know, I'm 35, having my first kid. I'm actually thankful that I waited as long as I did for that reason. And it was such a blessing, though. You know, like I healed from that conversation. They healed from that conversation, and they came back into the room like totally ready just to like have joy with him, and they completely did. And now I completely trust them. They've been coming back a ton to hang out with him, and it's been really beautiful. And I think that those are kind of, as mothers, the conversations that we have to get very comfortable having, and also figure out a way to have them with like all of the compassion, right? Because those conversations can very easily steer and spiral into, you know, chaos, right?
Yeah, just mayhem and finger pointing. Yeah, well, that's why it's so important to regulate, like have, you know, it's that nervous system work, and also like what's the bigger picture here that we're having this conversation for. Yeah,
because there were some moments in the conversation where I was like, ooh, that didn't feel good to me, or I didn't like that. But instead of focusing on that, being like, I think this might actually be a deflection. So if I focus on that, now we're not having the conversation anymore. So I'm just going to bypass that with love, you know?
You learn to let some things go and pick your battles. Yeah. Definitely. Oh, hello. She's like really having a good poop. She's at this point, I'm like filling up the next diaper. Oh,
I feel like she's pooped like 3 times this call.
Yeah, the doctor yesterday, she came to visit, and that's the thing about I love about Latin America too, is you have doctor visits in the house. Remember, Natalie, we've talked about this, and so nice. And she's like, how often does she poop? Like, you know, once or twice? It's like, no. She's a good eater. She's a good pooper. Everything's very steady.
Those go together for sure. I can piggyback off of what Toni said. I can definitely relate to just becoming very clear about what boundaries needed to be set. And a lot of them I didn't need to verbalize. Some of them, yes, but a lot of them were just kind of positioning my life in such a way where I don't need to have that confrontation, but I can still get my needs met. And like that's my favorite kind of boundary, the one that you don't have to name. You just kind of softly adjust the circumstances. But also my husband and I we spent maybe the first 4 months postpartum staying with my in-laws, his parents, and sometime with my mom and stepdad. And then around the 4-month mark, we went to Colombia, where our home is, and we just launched into a full remodel, which was not, in hindsight, maybe the best time, but now we're going to rent it when we come back. So it was really, really hard. And I think I was pleasantly surprised that it was possible to have a really, really difficult season without hating one another.
Yes.
And that was really profound. Like, we were having moments where we're like, wow, this is really terrible. Like, this sucks. This is so hard. Like, I need more from you. You need more from me, but our capacities don't allow for us to help each other in ways that are meaningful. And I'm not questioning my decision to be with you. And I can see that you're doing everything you like. I'm not angry with you. I'm just frustrated with our lack of capacity at the moment. And, but it was, and actually I came back to California a little bit early so that I could get more support and he could have a little bit less pressure from me. Not that I was applying a lot of it, but he knew I needed more. So now we're like, now my baby can be with my mom and I can call him and we can enjoy a conversation as adults and just be playful. But one thing I was just very pleased by was I think I made a really good decision in picking my husband, because I've just seen how hard he's willing to work for us, to take care of us. I'm really grateful that he put me in a position where I didn't have to work. He also put me in a position where I couldn't work even if I wanted to. He's like not only do you choice. Not only do you not have to work, there will be no time for you to work because I will be working so much. Yeah. So that was, but honestly, I got exactly what I wanted and I got more clarity on kind of how to design the life I really want, which is I don't want to be responsible for the bills, but I do want the option to create as much or as little and work as much or as little as I want out of my own expansive enjoyment of work. So my husband has made that possible. And it's been a process for me and for him too, I think, to be really on the lookout for things that the other person does right. I'm going to say that for new moms because it's really easy to see all the things he does wrong, especially if you're looking at it through the lens of mothering. Like fathering and mothering are not the same. And sometimes fathering looks like, okay, he's not dead, so that's good. But to me, I'm like, no, I need to be interacting with him all the time. I need to be making sure he's thriving. And he's not looking at it through that lens because he's busy remodeling and working on the house. So if I want help, it might look like neglect to me because I'm looking at it through the lens of mothering. But the baby's in the bouncer. He's not crying. He's not screaming. He's not in pain. He's not hungry. He's just in a bouncer and dad's in another room. And it took me a while to accept that this was okay.
To do things differently too.
Yeah, they do things differently. My speculation is dads maybe focus more on making sure they're not dead and not sick and not in pain. Literally. But moms are focusing on thriving. And they're both important. So I've learned to just appreciate what he does right and not surprisingly, I shouldn't be surprised, but the more I name what he's doing correctly, the more he does it, obviously. Yeah. So just making a conscious effort to be appreciative, because it's very easy to criticize at this stage in life, especially if you're new, I think. I made all the mistakes, still am.
I'm like, I remember that. It's like, no, you're not doing this right. You're not, because you're not doing it the way I would do it. And so
because you're not mom.
It's like, you're expecting them to do the mom thing when we're the ones who want to do it the way we. So yeah, it's definitely a level of appreciation. I'm grateful to get to bring in with this partnership with this baby that I did not have the wherewithal with any of my 4 older kids because it's been a decade. I was a very different person. So it's like, I thank him for everything when he takes the baby, when he changes the diaper, when he takes her in the carrier. And he's like, of course, she's my daughter too. I'm like, I'm still going to thank you because I appreciate it. I see it. And it's important to bring that up.
Yeah, I'm very
1000%.
lucky that Angela's father has the same mentality, right? Of just like, oh, someone said to him, like, oh, are you babysitting Angela? He was like, what? No,
We need to get rid of that.
not the hired help. I'm the father. So, like, I'm with my child. And I thought that he corrected that. And one thing I've noticed with the father-mother dynamic is they are very different, but I think they're both very essential. And one thing I've learned is that he's showing him how to like take risks, and to like do dangerous shit. And like kind of like, like how long can you go without needing that diaper changed or that meal or whatever,
Resilience.
He's helping him just like discover his edges, right? Which I think is really the beautiful dynamic of the like father-mother situation. Is it's like we are that safe space, that nurturance, developmental part of like the nervous system. But then it's like, well, what are you going to do with that really nice nervous system once it's developed? Oh, you're going to like climb a tree or do something really exciting with life, hopefully. And I just felt like he and his father have such a like adventure spirit together when they are with each other. And my aunt was just saying today, like the way he looks at him is very endearing. You love your papa.
That's so sweet. I heard someone say like, because I remember, it's so natural to look at your baby and be like, I'm never going to let anything happen to you. But the thing is, if you have that mindset, then nothing's ever going to happen to them. And that's where the dads come in, I think.
Yeah. They say that when the babies become more mobile, crawling and then walking and doing all the things, that's when dads, like their role in their lives become really essential because they need that not just to be kept like close and nurtured all the time, but to explore the edges and take risks. And so, yeah, dads are naturally, they're going to do that. We got to let them, obviously within like parameters, right? If you have somebody out there listening, you have a reckless baby daddy, maybe not. Don't do that. Use discernment.
I think
I hold up a big sign called discernment over my head.
Yes. I think that's the number one skill set to teach our kids in this day and age is really discernment. And it's interesting because like I'm a very like in my form of play is athleticism and doing hard things. Like I enjoyed labor. Like let's try this. Let's do this. I enjoy running marathons. Like I like hard play. I think where I learned my own edge was when I saw my 8-year-old, then 7-year-old in his first jiu-jitsu competition. And I saw someone put, a 6-year-old kid put my kid in a headlock and an armbar. I was like, oh, mama was about to come out. And my husband's like, no, you're okay. He's okay. That's a very standard move. But yeah, I saw that interplay in that space. And then seeing my boys because my 2 eldest are boys, like they just play differently. They're very aggressive and not in a detrimental way. They're just like, they've got this like one's a fire symbol and one's a metal symbol. I'm like, when they get together, it gets hot. So she's my water. She's just calming things down. So
yeah.
But the dynamic between me and my husband, the hardest one was my first, for sure, because that brought up all my stories of what I thought I saw my parents experiencing. We set some boundaries earlier on before I even got pregnant. And I'm not surprised I got pregnant in the window that I did after I had literally separated myself from my parents after staging my dad's intervention. I said both my dad and my mom, because I staged one for her for codependency. Like she was a part of it. So in that space of healing, that was when I got pregnant. And then we were able to reintegrate my dad, who had a very complex relationship with for years. Like he was my greatest champion, but also my greatest tormentor. And those boundaries that we had were it was very challenging when he was alive because there was always a doubt. There was always a lingering fear. Like as long as he was sober off of alcohol, and like for me, that boundary was so hard fought. Like that was like such a hard line. If I had even the closest suspicion, but his greatest accomplishment was like for the last 4 years of his life, he was sober off of alcohol, not off of opioids, but that was that. Yeah. When he passed in 2021, I felt spaciousness, and I felt like this soul contract that my dad and I have like that got to be. He's my greatest guide on the other side, and there is a magic in raising kids. And I was joking with Spike the other day that I was like, wow, to fill that space now, I've now had 2 other children and a dog and like a 10-acre homestead. Like had to fill it with a lot of things.
That was a lot of space it was taking.
There was a lot of space that I had capacity for. But I think the projection of the stories was the hardest one with my first, because there was a story that I was telling myself probably around month 6 to 8, because I find that the second trimester of postpartum is actually harder for me. That was always when postpartum anxiety, like potential postpartum psychosis, as they call it. That's when I started seeing like visions, ghosts. I had like spiritual gifts activated. Yeah. Those are not that, but the clinical terms are very different. And PPD and PPA really hit hard in that second trimester. And that was when I also started telling myself a story of like lack of support. Like here I am making more money than my husband was at the time. And in that space, I was telling my story of what I thought I projected from my parents, from seeing my mom working so hard with my dad in their business, and not seeing the roles of how they interplayed with each other in a healthy way. And once I had a conversation with Spike, and he was like, well, if you need more help, he's like, all you have to do is ask. And my husband, if you know him, like he is the most generous person. I call him my pioneer wife, because he's the one in the kitchen making bread. And he's a good cook too. He's a chef. Like he's literally a chef. He's literally a chef. He made like homemade apple butter, and like he made ball broth yesterday. I was like, wait, what do you mean ball? He's like, I made it from the sauce of the meatballs, and I was like, oh great, so I get to do like we're drinking
what kind
ball
of balls?
broth now.
What kind of ball broth?
But like that's who he is. He loves to cook, and he has that very nurturing, service oriented side. And so it was all a story I'd concocted in my mind. That created the separation. And I think that's one of the biggest things, is when I love what you said, Natalie, about looking at your partner and seeing like, what are they doing right? And yes, he doesn't he will have the TV on watching it while he's like walking around with her. But I'm like, he's giving me another 2 hours of sleep. And at that moment, I'm like, I'm okay with it. I am down. I'm not gonna like you watch your Alone series and like walking around with her. Like I'm okay with that. But I think that's where the understanding of like a co-creation of boundaries and values, and it's an ever evolving process. And also for me as a Virgo, like I am very systems oriented. So there are certain systems in our house where I'm like, okay, well that system is inefficient and it's not working. We need to like tighten that one up. And but that's the dynamic. And also I think the biggest thing is that him leaning into trusting my intuition more, and trusting like in business, they have it's the vision that you have the visionary, and then you have the integrator. And my husband is 100% the integrator. And once I started seeing him in that role, our relationship dynamics changed, because it was healthy, because he gets to be in his masculine, being that provider of like, bring in the food and cook the food and all that. And I get to be in that visionary space of like, where does our life get to go from here? And what can we create and blossom from this space? Yeah. And how can we create, like, blossom our children? And that that's allowed for the dynamic. The interesting dynamic has been adding my mom into the mix for the past 2.5 years after coming back from Australia. But I'm so grateful for that experience because in many ways it's allowed to connect a deeper connection as women, not just as like mother-daughter. And that's something that I'm really grateful also that my kids get to see is that there's different perspectives about different things, and that's okay. And I'm happy that like my mom is a very wonderful grandma in that she is very clear with my kids, especially when she takes them to activities or things like that, that, you know, mom and dad are the parents. So like we have the final say when it comes to our kids, period. She's not like interjecting or trying to influence with different opinions or stir up drama. She's very clear on, we're all very clear on our roles in the house. And I think that clarity produces a lot more beautiful results rather than and beautiful communication rather than when there's lack of clarity on who's doing what and a lack of clarity on roles or of the skill sets that we may need to grow into.
Yeah, because you're all working towards the same vision. It's like we had to really prepare this family as a team, all the kids, to step into that new chapter. And seeing them really grow and evolve and mature in their own ways this past year, being here, it was like that was a little incubator that we all needed, so that we're at this point where none of them are jealous or they're like vying for attention. They're like, no, we're the big kids. We're big kids now, you know, because now they're the middle children, and then we have the older children, and then there's the baby. So everyone's like, it's just such a different dynamic. It's funny when you say, Kimberly, when your dad, all the space that he took up, you had such a massive capacity because of that. And so you got to fill it with all this other stuff that's really beautiful. And I just had an aha moment where I was like, oh, guys, maybe that's why I can handle life so much in life, because I don't have, you know what I'm talking about. I don't have, right? Natalie's like, brain is mind blown. It's clicking now, y'all. It's clicking. I'm like, this feels good. And to have, because for us, a big shift, just like you were saying, Natalie, is like, oh, we can go through hard stuff and not be mad at each other, and actually be on the same page and actually be closer and like each other and appreciate each other even more. There's been no shortage of challenges here between all the visas and the documents and the things and all the move, and it's like, we're in this together. We're doing this. You have to rally as a team.
Yeah,
but yeah.
I just
yes, Toni.
Off what you're saying there, I feel like my concept of like loving relationship has completely changed. And now I'm like, oh, the people, like, love is who's with you through the shit. And it doesn't feel like we're like fighting each other, right? Like even if we have to have conflict, it feels like we are fighting the conflict rather than each other as individuals. Mm-hmm. Massively huge. And I think also now that this is kind of hard for me to like say and conceptualize exactly, but I feel like a lot of my romantic partnerships were kind of doomed because I was ready to be a mother. I was like with partners who I ended up being their like little mommy therapist. And then even if they healed and even if things went well, they like resented, like the dynamic was just weird because I had to like I had to like teach them how to cook vegetables and cook and clean up after themselves and stuff, and like experience their emotions and not just avoid them, you know?
Yeah.
Was when I had my son, I was like, oh, this yearning that I had been having for so long was not for romantic partnership, but it was for motherhood. So now that is like, I don't feel that anymore. I feel like my romantic partnership, it's like much more balanced, and like, the dynamic feels equitable and equal. And yeah, it feels like a much healthier place for me to like be in, and which is ironic because right now it's not even like on the short list of priorities. I'm like, I can take it or leave it. And it's going really, really well. So it's just one of those ironic things in life, is like when you stop hyper focusing on something is when it actually tends to like manifest and work itself out how it should.
Yeah, that's so true. And we have no shortage of topics that we could always explore, but we covered a lot, and y'all get to know us, listeners. So thank you.
Here.
Yeah, nap time. Yeah, and I think I need to change her diaper because she's cluster feeding, and so that means she's pooping a lot. And you know how it is. It's a mustardy smell. I'm like, yep, it's there. Well, it's time for another change. Butter popcorn. Yes, that's the one.
So he's like,
yeah.
On. He's like,
it's like, hold that face. We know what's happening. And she's falling asleep. But I do want to thank all of you who are listening and have been here with us, listening to this. Yeah, all of the twists and turns we've taken here, and to the three of you for being a part of this conversation and sharing yourselves with each other and this audience. So, thank you all to everyone again listening. And here is to your liberating your wild feminine heart. Bring the boom, I bring the bass, give me a taste, they me the waste. I'm your little plaything. I got to feel